Bobby so graciously is the moderator for this conversation today. And this, remember when I talked earlier, I talked about this like three-pronged approach to addressing gun violence. And we first talked about school-based intervention. That's what Bobby oversees. And then we have a diversion program that's for individuals coming out of the juvenile justice system. And then the deepest tier is community violence intervention, CVI. And that is run by Raysean Brown. He works for an organization called Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Mm-hmm. But with that said, I'm going to pass it off to Bobby to moderate, and then if you just want to do introductions, so quick verb, what you guys do, and then we'll start off.
Okay. So I'm Bobby, as Abe already mentioned. I'm the My Brother's Keeper program manager for the city of Orlando, and we oversee the school-based approach, middle school and high school, 5 middle schools, 2 high schools, and we make sure that these young brothers have day-to-day support in not just in the school, but at home and also in the community as well, by providing wraparound services on a day-to-day to find out exactly what's going on beyond what we may be looking at from a grade perspective. And so we try to make sure that we have those supports around them on a day-to-day basis.
I'm Raysean Brown, Ray for short. I currently serve as the Strategy Director for Peace Orlando via Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And our particular focus is community violence intervention and prevention, focusing on those most at risk of being shot, those most at risk of committing gun violence or being victims of gun violence.
I'm Zaltravius C. Wright, to keep it simple, Trey. I'm a student under the CVI program.
Okay. So,
are you in school? Are you in college?
No.
You're okay. Yeah. Understudy.
Basically.
So we're actually about to dig a little bit deeper into his story. Just give a little context for why we're here, and actually why we're seated the way that we're seated is when we spoke earlier, and Abe was kind of alluding to this, is when we talk about providing support as it relates to gun violence and just support for our youth overall in general, it is a wraparound approach, right? And as Abe began to start talking earlier, he mentioned about how he has been able to help Zaltravius over the last 2 years. And so what we're going to do now is going to do a deep dive into Zaltravius and the supports, but more importantly, how he got into this whole CVI conversation. And so I just want to grab your attention and just let you know exactly a little bit of background of kind of how this conversation is going to go. All right. So with that being said, Zaltravius, you already kind of started really, and Abe already kind of started telling the story a little bit about, your mom and how old she was and your dad, and then, some of the contextual concepts. Do you want to tell us a little bit, or could you tell us a little bit more about, your upbringing? Go a little bit deeper into your mom and your dad.
Yeah, so my mom and my dad, it's crazy, but I don't know how they met or, what, because it's a big age difference. I think my mom was at least 14 or 15. My dad was 18. But what she most told me was really like he was a dude in the streets, like he had a big name. So it was like, okay, well, this is him, he's flashy, and that's what she went for. So my mom kind of grew up into a broken home too. She got 4 other siblings. She's the oldest. And from here on out, I got brought in the picture in 2002. And I think my dad went away when I was at least, 6 months, 3 months, one of them. But yeah, he went to jail for second-degree murder for 20 years. So as far as that.
Okay. All right. So mom young, dad in jail within 6 months of you being born,
yeah.
Right? So have you, just bringing it up to now, have you had conversations with your dad?
So, yeah, unfortunately, he got out 2 years ago.
Okay.
Early February 2022. And my mom wasn't really big on me, getting real close, because she's afraid of, me seeing the real him. I don't know the real him. You know what I'm saying? So he went away for 20 years. I never got to meet him. All our conversations were through phone. So she was very scared to be like, okay, well, just adapt to him. So, but I was becoming a young man at the time, so she was like, well, I gotta let you take that step on your own and see it for what it is. So I ended up meeting him when he got out, and we kind of took everything day for day or whatnot, but I mean, things came to short, and it was like, this ain't, like, it's not what it is. And he kind of still has a kid mindset, like still stuck at like 13 or whatever. And it's like, it's kind of sad, because I was teaching him the ropes a little bit, and I was like, nah, you can't do that like that. Like, this is a better way to do it, you know what I'm saying? I've done it this way, you know what I'm saying? And you've been going for a long time. Let me show you how this is done, and let me show you what this is. And it was like new restaurants and stuff in the magazine and stuff like that. It was all type of kind of stuff. So he kind of, so basically he was kind of lost in the world, and I was still trying to show him the way while he was, you know what I'm saying, me like learning who he is.
Okay, so you mentioned about your dad, and I want to kind of start there, but then now I want to dive deeper, because your mom was there. Yeah. She was accessible, but your mom was young. So tell us a little bit about, like, what was upbringing like growing up with your mom? So
with my mom, it started off with just me. As of right now, I got 4 or 5 other siblings. I'm the oldest. I have a brother and 4 younger sisters. So from the get-go, it was just me and my mom, because my next 2 siblings, they had their dad. Like, their dad were in their life. So me, I was basically the lone child, and it was like, okay, my mom took it as, oh, you're the oldest, you don't have a dad, so it's just me and you. Like, we're gonna rock the show together. And it was rough, you know what I'm saying? I feel like as a child, you have to have that 2-parent, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, not having a dad really played a big part in my life. Like, just not having that family home, it played a big part of my life. It led me to be like very defiant in school, disobedient, and I didn't know it then, but now I made a lot of excuses for myself that wasn't, but at the time I didn't know, so it was like they were accounted for. Like, my teachers would be like, okay, well, this is why, because I'm telling them, like, me not knowing then, I'm expressing myself. This is what I'm telling you. This is what's going on at home. I miss my mom, like, because my mom was troubled too, trying to make ends meet. She was in and out of jail too. My mom grew up in the streets too. My uncles grew up in the streets too. One of my uncles went away for 7 years one time for something I forgot. And I had another uncle, he was in and out of jail too. So, I mean, I was kind of stuck up under that roof. My grandmother, she passed in 05. She was a gangster too. My granddad, he was a gangster too. So it was like, it's kind of big.
So the concept of not being new to this, but being true to this is kind of your backstory.
Yeah, basically.
Right? You started talking about rough and what rough looked like growing up for you, and thanks for your transparency and showing what rough looked like for you. At what point was it the hardest for you when you talk about in school? Because, you know, when we talk about this whole gun violence, or we talk about just violence overall in general, and you talk about how you behaved in elementary school and you were getting into trouble, at what point was it the worst for you in your life? Behaviorally, and then we'll get to more so the...
Well, behaviorally, it was really elementary, because, okay, so I'm going to start at elementary. Elementary, it was like the basic temper tantrums, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I made excuses for myself. Like, if my mom was in jail, I'm doing this because my mom's in jail. I miss my mom. I miss my dad. I don't, you know what I'm saying? It was that kind of thing. It was like, I need more attention at home, and they were like trying to let that be known, but I don't have the support system at home to be like, well, I can give you these things. Because,
well, hold on, I want to stop right there.
Okay.
And the reason why is because you just said a key word, I think is a buzzword in our world right now, is support system.
Yeah.
And so you say you didn't have a support system. Is there anybody that you had in your life that you could count on to say, hey, that's not the right way? That's
At that time.
At that time.
At that time, not necessarily, because like I said, everybody were gangsters. My whole family was in the streets. So even though they were like, okay, well, this is dope, because then they started putting me into sports. Sports was like an outlet, like, you know what I'm saying? I was fast at the time. I did track, football, baseball, basketball, you name it. So at At the time, no. I was staying with my mom's close best friend. They've been best friends since they were kids, so I was like my auntie. So I stayed with them for as long as I can remember. They took me in, and it was like, well, she got her own kids, and they got their dad, and it's like, I'm still stuck, like, left alone. And it's like I'm basically the outsider. Even though they treated me like something, I was still like the outsider with no support system. I didn't have family that attended my football games all the time. So, yeah.
So at what age would you say the first person that came into your life that kind of took you under your wing? Because I know from just working with you and working, being around this work, I know that you come up through different programs and stuff like that. At what age were you when you first got your first person that you could count on to help navigate?
Well, I didn't
put you on the right track.
I didn't really know it at the time, but I had a mentor. When I was in elementary, I ended up attending Blankner Elementary. And I had a mentor at the time. His name Todd Carr. And he was kind of because we didn't know each other at all. So it was like we were meeting each other, getting to know each other, and he was still like doing things like he took me to my first college football game, to a FSU football game, and that was like very big for me. So it was like an eye opener, like trust him. And like Abe said in the panel, he dug into it to like meet with my mom and my younger siblings and got to know everybody. So for like Thanksgiving and stuff, he'll fry a turkey and bring it over and stuff like that.
His name was Todd?
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened with Todd over the years? Was he a school teacher? Like, what was his role prior to like getting that relationship? Like, how did you meet Todd? Let's say that.
So his daughter actually taught at the school.
Okay.
So I think I was in her class, but I had a different mentor. So they was and then I had an IEP plan throughout elementary too. So it was like, okay, well, these kids need help. They acknowledged that. So it's like, okay, we got to find him a mentor, someone he can, you know what I'm saying? So they brought him in, and we kind of just like went about it the way we did. I mean, I still talk to Todd today, still today.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So for those, just contextually, an IEP in the school system is an individual exceptional plan, right? That's built around the student to identify accommodations and supports needed for them to be able to be successful. And so with the IEP, let's go to the school real quick, and then we're gonna transition. With the IEP, from your perspective, did you feel like you still got the supports that you needed, or was it just another piece of paper? And I'm going somewhere with this, that's why.
So with the IEP, the only thing it really did was it allowed me extra learning time. So the thing was, I was a smart kid. Like any of my teachers could tell you, I can do my work. It's sitting in class actually doing my work. I had a hard time. Like I had I wouldn't say a learning disorder. Like I had ADHD, so I get off track fast. Then I do
that now. So
it got to the point where they chart it down and write it down. So I end up having to go start seeing a psychiatrist, and they started putting me on different medications to help me stay focused in class. And my mom was up for it until it was like, he's too focused. Like he's like not eating at home, and he's just like a mute. Like he won't talk.
Hold on, stop. Because we talk about medicine, especially in the African American community, and talk about medicating and how it supports. But you just mentioned how it made you mute. In essence, it made you talk about that. Like, what did that do for you?
So, in that sense, it was basically okay. So every morning when I got to school, I would have to take a dose of medication. And then it started. They started bringing higher and higher, because my mom was like, well, this is still happening. She's just reporting it back. So they like, okay, we're gonna up the dosage. I think I was taking like a 504 dosage or something like that before school. And it was like,
so they made you take it before school?
Before school, and then I think like, because I'd be up all night, and they'll have me taking this sleeping medicine so I go to sleep. But my mom didn't like it because it made me like into a zombie. So she was like, nah, we're not doing this no more. So, but the medicine, it kept me focused in class like it was supposed to. But then again, it was too focused. Like he's just here. Like he's not here. He's not talking to the teacher. Like he won't talk to none of his classmates. He just does his work and he's just sit there. Like, he won't talk. So
would you say you had a childhood or were able to experience a level of childhood to where you were able to be in those years of being in school, just being able to go be a kid? Or because of your background, because of everybody being in the streets that you knew, were you ever able to have access to like a real childhood? And what was that for you? And what were some of your dreams that you had when it comes to a childhood?
So, of course, every kid, NFL, baseball, MLB. My childhood, you know, we didn't have the necessary funds. My mom was still making ends meet, so it was like, okay, well, this is limited. You can't go do this, you know what I'm saying? And I had friends that, oh, can he come? Well, I ain't got no money, so no, basically. And it was like, a lot of things were limited, so it was like, that's why I say football is my outlet. It was free. You can't, I had such talent, my coaches paid for me to play football. So it was like, okay, well, we need him, so we want him to come. As long as he get to practice, we got everything else.
So did you ever feel like well, that's for the room. I think that was for the camera. Yeah.
I guess for the
Test. Yeah,
interrupt.
So there we go. Test. Got to hear us? Yeah. Okay, great. Hopefully we were able to talk loud enough. Yeah. So when you talked about childhood and you said you're not having a child, did you feel with football, did you feel like you were able to really be a kid playing football, or did you feel like people saw you as a ticket?
I would say mostly, I felt like it was open for me, like, because I had friends, like a lot of my cousins played on the same team as me. My friends that I went to school with played on the same team as me, so I didn't have that necessary look as to, I feel like a ticket. I didn't think about it as that. You know, I might not have seen it like that. I just was playing, and this was my dream, and that's what I felt like I was destined for. So
okay. And so now let's transition, because we talked about your elementary school, and I'm trying to get to where you had this level of support, right, that got you to where you are now. Because I would say that you found a level of success currently, and we want to get to that point. And so getting there, let's talk quickly about your middle school and high school years and when you really started trying to get into some trouble and stuff like that.
yeah, so middle school, it wasn't as bad as elementary. I think it was because I was getting older and a lot of stuff was like, okay, it's just childish. You're in middle school, so it was like, I still was doing certain things to be like, I was basically impressing. I was living to impress now. So now it's like, okay, well, I want to be one of the cool kids. I want to, you know what I'm saying? And at the time, I'm from the street, so it's like, I hang around all my homeboys. We do dumb stuff all the time. Jumping off buildings and stuff like that, doing backflips. Like, you know, so it was like, I don't know, I can't.
Were you labeled though? Because I do want to speak to a space, right, of I think somebody said doing kid things. I think I just heard somebody say that, right? Well, for a lot of people, that is doing kid things. But in a certain community, that's not kid stuff. That's juvenile stuff. So let's start talking about that.
When did you have your first run-in with the law?
My freshman year? Yeah, my freshman year.
You were put into alternative school during
My the end of my 9th grade year.
and when did you start playing with guns?
It was my 10th grade year.
You picked your first gun charge at 9th grade, right?
No, yeah, matter of fact, I started dealing with guns 9th grade because I was on the freshman football team, and my teacher did something very, like, she got me kicked off the football team basically, and it was like, basically I thought my life was over because my coach wouldn't let me back on the team. It wasn't because of my grades, he just had a rule. You get in trouble in class, you done. So it was like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm finna do now. It was like starting to think of a new way. Me and my friends just went the route of what we seen before us. Mind you, we grew up in the hood. So all we seen was the people before us. This is what they did, and this is how they got their money. We don't have jobs. We didn't even know how to fill out an application. We never been taught to fill out an application. So we went about it our own way of how we seen it. Then another thing, we got the internet too. So we looking at stuff on the internet and we like, okay, well, we can do this differently. We can do this better than how it's being done.
Right.
So it was repeated nature, basically.
So to that point, repeated nature, you're now getting into some criminal violence, right? How many different ordeals did you have with police?
I mean, they were quite few, but it was, I didn't always go to jail. They'll stop me. Just because of knowing who I am in the neighborhood, they'll stop me. They'll be like, Mr. C-Ray, that's you? And they'll pull a car over and pull in front of me, conduct a stop and search me. They used to do that all the time to us before we go to school. We know who y'all is. Yeah, everybody right here, y'all detained. We finna search everybody. Drugs and guns before school, early in the morning. You know, high school start at 7:20. It's 7 in the morning. We getting searched for guns and drugs.
Okay. So transition just a bit. When did you start receiving support while going through all of these things? Because it's one thing to say, right, that people are getting locked up and they need resources and everything like that. When did you start receiving reliable support to start helping you through these situations? Because you mentioned just now, I'm tearing up y'all stuff. You mentioned how you were, I lost train of thought. You mentioned how you were getting, locked up and so on and so forth, right? So talk about not so much getting the locked up piece, but with the gun violence, when did you start receiving support for getting out?
So one of the uncles that I had talked about, he ended up changing his life around. That was like my role model. So I seen him do it and I'm like, okay, well, I can do it. You know what I'm saying? So I had recently went to jail for almost a month and a half for an aggravated assault charge with a firearm. And when I got out, I didn't know what my GPA was, because at the time I was at alternative school. So I didn't know what my GPA was. Mind you, I'm smart in school. So my teacher was telling me, we was going over my grades and my classes and stuff. She was like, yeah, you have such a 2.7 GPA. All you need is a 2.0 to play football. So I took it and was like, well, this is my chance right here. I was going into my senior year and I had just got out. I'm like, man, I got to do something different. And at the time, the police were trying to give me 15 years. They was going to wait till I was at least 17 or 18 to charge me as an adult and give me 15 years. And I was like, well, I got to do something different. So that uncle, he went through junior college, played for Bethune-Cookman University, and I watched all that. So it was like an eye-opener for me. I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it better. I'm going to actually make it. I'm going to be the name for our family. So going into my senior year, he knew the high school coach at Jones High School. So I was like, man, I want to play football. He was like, and then my mom basically washed her hands with me and was like, you getting too old. It's like you going through all these things and all this trouble. I still got younger kids, younger than you. I still got to take care of them. I can't put all my time into you and you going to jail. You ain't doing nothing for me, basically. So it's like, well, I got my support system from my uncle. He was like, bro, if you're going to do right, I can take you in. So I started living with him. And he got me back into football. I talked to the coach. The coach told me to come to the high school training. And this is my senior year. I haven't played football since 9th grade. So it was like, I came and did the work. I did what I had to do. And he supported me the whole way through my senior pictures and everything like that. And he was there almost every game. So
Something happened during your senior year that you lost somebody you loved.
Yeah, my senior year, I ended up losing a friend. I lost one out of my two close friends. He was killed in a drive-by shooting. Yeah, and that was I think a month before I graduated. So it was it kind of took a big toll on me doing me being me and knowing all my homeboys. I can't leave my homeboys. I'm the glue. So I'm like, who gonna protect them if I'm not here? Who gonna make sure they good if I'm not here? You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the oldest, so it's I look at them, I'm big bro. So it's like nobody don't take care of my younger brothers better than me. Nobody's not gonna protect my younger brother. And I got to a point where I was like, man, I ain't going to school. I'm staying. I'm not going to junior college.
You gotta stay home. You gotta protect.
I gotta protect. Then I got a blood younger brother, so it's like, man, who gonna look after him? What if something happened to him? How does
So
it make my
that caused you to go deeper into street life, would you say?
So, mind you, from 9th grade on, I was kind of already into it. My younger brother was watching me do all these things, but in a sense, I'm not paying attention to it as a older brother. I'm just looking at it as, bro, I'm making ends meet, trying to help myself survive, me and all my homeboys. Nobody not giving us nothing. We don't get handouts. You know what I'm saying? So, we making ends meet for ourselves. If we going to the mall and spending money, we spend our own money that we made from doing X, Y, and Z. So, as far as being deeper into the streets, I didn't get deeper into the streets. I was trying to find the outlet to get out of it.
All right. So glad you said that. Right. Who helped you out? And I'm gonna transition this a little bit because I know in our conversation a couple of days ago you mentioned Ray. How you knew Ray growing up and everything like that. When did Ray come into the picture? Because Abe just mentioned about how there was something that happened. So you lost somebody, right? Just 2 years ago. Was that separate from?
Yeah, that was separate. So those are two different settings. It was back to back basically. So it was 1 year, then it was the next year. Those two different.
And this next year was your best friend, your brother.
Yeah.
You live with him?
Yeah, he lived with me. So to get on that note, so I met Ray. I always knew Ray. We have a mutual. My uncle is his cousin, so Ray was like family to me. He is family to me. So we kind of grew that in a sense as far as going along. Because, Ray played football too, so it's like he teaching me the ropes outside of, bro, you should go to college, bro. I actually went to college and stuff like that. And in a sense, around that same year, 2021, I met Abe. So they was trying to figure out, basically they wanted to start a life map as far as like, well, what we gonna do? You know what I'm saying? What we gonna do? Like, what we gonna do to get you, better you, basically, to better your life? What do you want to do? So,
and what did you have in mind at that time? Because I remember when I met you, you was big into like culinary.
Yeah. So at the time, so I ended up going to junior college for half a semester. I came home for the break, and the financial aid people told me basically there was some kind of difficulty to where I had to pay some money back, but they never told us how much money that I owed. Right. So I had people that was trying to help me out or whatever as far as like what we need to pay, including my mom that didn't have much. You know what I'm saying? So they never got back to us. I ended up catching a charge that put my life on hold basically, and once junior college just started saying, okay, you got a case open, we don't want you.
So let me put that in context though, because I want to pass off to Ray here to talk about it. But so when he came back from junior college, I got connected to Zatravius. At that point in time, you got caught with a charge, put on probation, all the looks, scholarships done. They said you ain't moving forward. Also, when you go to college, you have debt in your name, you can't enroll in another school. Everything shuts off until that debt's paid off. Financially shut down everything. So he's landlocked. He ain't going nowhere. Family don't have him at home. He doesn't have a support system. So he's kind of lost. And that's kind of, I mean, Ray has been in the picture the whole time, but that's when Ray really got involved with the situation. So Ray, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I can speak to it. I can speak to it from this, man. So it's all about, let's connect both conversations. It's all about resources. So and as a young person, he probably didn't understand this part. So I've been knowing, like he said, we share a mutual family member, but I was never in a position to be able to provide the things that he would need. So at the same time this is happening to his life, we're on the other side, the professional side, planning out CVI, Community Violence Intervention. So it's starting to come to a fruition, right? At this time you're going through that, this program doesn't exist.
And give him a little feedback about what CVI is.
Okay, so as if you guys were here when I introduced myself, so I currently serve as the Strategy Director of CVI, Community Violence Intervention and Prevention. And basically what we do, Abe, so I won't waste our time, Abe kind of told you that based off national statistical data, we believe that 0.1% of the population are committing acts of gun violence, which Orlando, we have roughly 320,000, so we believe it's 320 people that mainly commit gun violence. So what we do is we go inside underprivileged communities, communities that have the highest rate of gun violence. And what we do is we go inside those communities and we target the people that we feel like are most at risk of committing gun violence or being a victim of gun violence. And what we do is we approach it a couple of different ways. We get a list from OPD. They provide a list of who they think in this area fits that demographic. Then we go inside the community and we approach it by talking to the young people, right? Then we connect with another subset, which I call the aunties and uncles of the community. So long-term community members that occupy houses, sit on their porch all the time. They may be retired. A lot of times in these communities that we work in, they don't necessarily believe in calling the police, but they'll tell us. So we say, who do you respect? They'll give us some names. Then we go to the local business owners. In these communities, a lot of people, for whatever reason, I'm from Paramore, so I should have said that, born and raised in Paramore before I took on this position as an adult. So even in my youth, I remember we hung at the corner stores. So you ask the local business owners, if there's a disruption up here, who do you call, right? And then last but not least, our community-based organizations, right? Who is the, what we like to use the term OG, the big homie? Who is the person that you call if something goes awry in the community? And basically, each community usually gives us 4 or 5 names. When they provide us with those names, we then go to those individuals and we say, hey, listen, how would you like to be paid a full-time salary, benefits and everything to serve your community, to be toward violence in your community? And most people think it's a joke when they first hear it. They're like, oh, you gonna pay me to hang in my community? I already hang, you gonna pay me to do this? I'm like, yeah, we really are. And we have the plan, right? We have the plan and resources. And with the individuals that we're targeting them for their influence, right? So this is where resources need influence. These people have been identified by their community, not me. I'm not to say y'all be not Mr. Abe, but that community that we're trying to serve, right? So we're all working together. And when they identify these people, we start them out on what we call a 90-day trial basis. And we usually hire 2 people at a time. After approaching those 4 people, we interview those 4, 2 rise to the top. 3. We hire those 3 for 90 days, and then 1 person usually eliminates himself. And 1 person is the guy that really can do the job, and he gets the full-time position, and then there's a part-time position. So each community comes with a full-time and a part-time position, and we work with those guys. Once they're hired, we then give them 90 days to go find the young people that we should be working with. And that's when, so I skipped a step, so that's when the OPD list comes into effect. And they never see that list. So at the end of those 90 days, they provide us with the 7 to 10 people that they believe are committing the acts of gun violence or at most risk. And then what me and Abe do, we look at that list, we look at OPD list, and almost 99% of the time, those lists are identical, which means it means 2 things. The OPD know who's doing it, they just don't have the evidence yet to take you away, but you are on the radar. And the community knows who's doing it, right? So that's what we know. Now, what that tells us is we still have time to do something about it. And what we do is, we then take those young people and we do what we call intentional, intense mentoring and case management. What does this look like? So, we contact these people every day, 3 times a day. You gotta think this population that we're dealing with, you just heard it from one young individual. I deal with 56 of them. And most of his story is about, right, we had to sum it up. Nobody's looking for him, right? He's getting a little bit of love, and most of his days he's doing whatever he wants to do. Nobody's looking for him, there's no guidance, there's no structural, there's no schedule. So when we meet them where they're at, right, we understand that. And we also understand that they have been living their life this way for quite a while. This program is very new. So the only way to mature this is I can't check in with you once a month. I can't check in with you once a week. This is the way you've been living your life, right? If you check somebody into rehab, it's intense. So we contact them 3 times a day, every day. They don't even know what's happening. We just doing it. Most of the time when we first start, they're aggravated. Man, you keep calling. But then all of a sudden, I took such interest in his life. You just keep calling. You just keep asking. But we know why. And this is an evidence-based model. We're tracking that data, right? So at the end of the week, I should have made 15 contacts with him every week. At the end of the week, if one of my guys, if it gets to 12, I want to know why. Not only do we meet with them 3 times, not only should they make contact with the young people 3 times a day, the program participants, but as a team, we meet 3 times a day because violence is forever changing. So if we really gonna do something about it, we gotta know what's going on in the community in the morning. By the middle of the day, everything that we thought we knew has changed. Somebody else made a social media post saying, forget you guys, now we up, now we have to be on top of that. And guess what? You better believe by evening time, it has changed again. So we meet 3 times a day to stay on top of that. Now, how does that affect his life? What's so good about meeting 3 times a day? Well, not only do we meet 3 times a day, but in that we build what we call a life map, life management action plan. And that's what he referred to. We sit down with him, and Bullet was a special case because we wanted to know how does the program work to fidelity. So me and Abe took Bullet home, right? And what we did was, a life management action plan is me and you defining what success looks like in your life. It's different. Everybody have their own. It's different. So what do you want to do? And not only that, sometimes it's forever altering and changing. Like you said, Bobby said when he first met him, he wanted to go to culinary school. Then the program came with the city of Orlando where he provided all these, what's the word?
So I build Ocean, all your certifications, construction.
Right.
Yeah.
So he fell in love with that. He fell in love with that, right? So now he no longer wants to cook, he wants to pursue this. And that's an alternate, right? It still leads to success. We just go back and fill out a couple things differently, and we hold you accountable. It's a way to hold him accountable. So anytime things ain't going, we put, hey man, this is what you signed, this is what you said you wanted to do.
So right there though, because I want to ask you and Abe this: how did you all go about building the trust to get this information out of them?
So it goes back to, right, nothing's by mistake. If you call somebody 3 times a day every day,
come on.
You call somebody 3 times a day every day, so that's when you want to talk to me, that's when you don't want to talk to me, that's when you're happy with me, that's when you're mad with me. Even if he asks me something in the morning and I tell him no, guess what I know? I gotta call him back. So, and the thing is, never lie. So there's things he asks me, I'm like, not right now. Not because I don't want to, I don't have the resources to. And I understand at a high level, he's already been lied to. He already don't trust the system, right? Because this still is a system. No, my heart is in the right place. I work for somebody. This is a system. So most of the target audience that we go after have already been in some way, shape, or form betrayed by the system. So I just lead with fidelity. When Abe can tell you this, when I first met with Abe, when I first got in position, I said, I only want one thing from him. Never put me in a position to lie to the young people, right? That's all I ask. I could work with the parameters you give me, never make me lie to them. And my acts may have been different because I'm from the community. So I know they look at me in a different way. So I just never want to get out there lie. Only tell me what I can do and I can tell them what I can't do. So I think that builds the trust. I never lied to him. If he asks me, can I make this happen? I can't do that. I can't do it tomorrow, give me a week, give me a month, give me, you know, so now you see what I'm saying? So I think just leading with honesty, being transparent, and you don't have to be an a-hole, but I also let him know what he had. And you ain't ready for that.
Right.
You got to tell him you ain't ready for that.
So you got how did you build a trust with him over that time?
Right. You gotta be honest with it, right? Like, I come with the suit, I come with the tie, I have to get dressed up for work. I don't come from the community, so for me to just step in the community and being able to work with folks doesn't work like that. And so I relied on Ray and others in the community to build that trust. And so I think over time, what Ray is saying is when you don't lie to the community and you're honest with them, and you tell them exactly what you can and cannot do, and then you come through with what you say you're going to do, it builds trust over time.
So to that point, because because there are things when you're building a relationship, right,
Yes, sir.
that happen and transpire. And so you talked a couple minutes ago about losing someone,
Yeah.
right? 2 years ago, on your birthday, right? On your watch, right? So kind of whoever want to takes this.
So I think this is important to, and I definitely want you to tell it from your side, but I think this is important to the program and showing how it works. So I'm going to take a technical approach. We had just started. The launch of CVI was November 7, 2022. He lost his best friend November 12th, 2022. So we're 5 days into the work. We behind the scenes. Nobody knows this program exists. We doing the work. But remember what I told you. Everybody we hired because they have their own, what's the word I'm using?
Lived experience.
They have their own lived experience, and not only that, their own sway, right? The program exists off sway. Your credibility, a credible messenger, leads because of him, not because of the program, because everybody would be like, well, what's CVI? We don't even know what that is. So that's why you have to be a credible messenger. It's within you. So we're doing this work for 5 days. A situation pops off at Jones High School, a shooting at a football game. He was involved in it. He loses his best friend that night. They were living together. They were in the same house. He was actually, which was crazy to think, he was actually one of the first people that we targeted for the program. It's like just talking about it. It's just talking about, you don't get my program, I'm gonna change your life. And that situation happened. And what Abe
Hold on, Ray. Before that happened that night,
yes, sir.
because I'll never forget when you and Abe told me this, so I want the crowd to understand this. 2 weeks before the shooting, before he gets killed, he told you all that he wanted to change up. Like he was, so go into that.
Yeah, so the young man that we talk about, he was trying to figure it out. And I credit to his uncle. Before he came to us, his uncle did a lot of the back work. His kid was in and out of foster care, no parents. He ended up just moving in with his uncle. They share no blood. His uncle was just a guy that cared about the community. They share no blood. He ends up moving in with him, long story short. He basically told him, you can live with me if you go to school. His kid wasn't even going to school. So because he had somewhere to say that his head, he ends up graduating, working overtime. I think he had to go like to extended school, go in the morning. It was like all type of crazy stuff because he was so far behind. But long story short, he worked his behind off and graduates, get his diploma, all that. So now he's hanging at this safe haven, which Bobby now runs in the K. They have what they call a teen cell. So every day they're just hanging at this safe haven, staying out of trouble, playing video games, going all these classes. So he still don't know what he want to do in his life at this point. He's still flirting, like flirting with being a good kid, flirting with the community, community violence. So then finally, he's like 2 weeks before that, he comes sits down and he's like, I want to change my life. I want y'all to help me. I want to make a plan. I want to do something. I don't know what it is, what I want to do, but I don't want to do this. Right? I don't want to do what I'm doing. And we knew behind closed doors that CVI was coming down the pipeline. Like, as adults, we knew so. So we just smiled at each other because we like, we got a program that's gonna be able to take you to the next step, take you to the next level, lead with love, all these things that they were talking about in the panel that a lot of these young people that participate in this don't have. Support, love, somebody that's checking in with you, a phone call, just saying, hey, you're all right. So we knew that was gonna happen. Unfortunately, he met his demise before we could ever launch the program and surround him with all these benefits.
Now, as a result, this is where you come in, right? As a result of this, you're upset, you're angry, all of these other different dynamics. Let's talk about, because I want to get to a point of success, right? Let's talk about that, right? In that moment, okay, you now have to respond. Because there are people that will come after your best friend, your brother, you know what I'm saying? What is that moment like for you?
So real quick, I'm gonna just take you through the night, right? So, mind you, it's my birthday. We didn't. So the night before we went to Kobe's, it was his first time ever going to Kobe's. it's supposed to be my birthday. He's more excited than me. I done been to Kobe's. He more excited than me. So I was happy for that. At the end of the day, I treated him like a brother, bro. Like that was my boy. So the next day we was trying to figure out what we gonna do for the rest of my birthday. So I'm like, man, I don't know. He keep asking me, what we finna do? I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know. So we was like, man, we just finna go to the game and watch my cousin them play. So it was a lot of confusion going on inside of the game. So my uncle was paying attention to it. So he like, man, we finna leave, because we had my little cousin with us too. So we like, well, we finna leave. You know what I'm saying? It's two different groups. Look like they got some kind of confrontation going on. So we like, man, we finna leave. We left the game early. Pulling out of the game, my uncle noticed a group of kids that he knew. So he de-escalated the situation. Unfortunately, a fight ended up breaking out. Upon him de-escalating the situation, a fight broke out, shots go off. So, and that whole time, me and my best friend, we wasn't, he just wanted to make sure my uncle was safe, so we just got out the truck and stood in front of the truck. We having a normal conversation in front of the truck. He's real jumpy. He's like, oh, well, I need to go make sure he okay. I'm like, bro, he good, bro. Just trust me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we started talking about my birthday. We just chit-chatting like a normal conversation. So we just hear the shots go off, and we ran towards our left in between some cars, and he just fell, and I fell over him. So I get up, but I knew one of my friends ended up getting shot. So I went and checked on my friend first. So he was like, he was okay, but a kid yelled out, was like, somebody's dead over here. So I'm like, oh. So I screamed out his name. I'm like, oh. So I walked back to where we fell. And I wasn't sure. I'm like, I just go to screaming out his name. I'm like, get up. He wasn't responding to me, so I'm like, man, hold on. So I rolled him over, and he grabbed onto my forearm. He grabbed onto my forearm like a real tight grip. So he just like grunting, so I'm like, then I see the smoke coming out his chest. I'm like, oh, he shot. So it spooked me, and I'm like, so I kind of backed up, and I was scared. And then so the whole time that's going on, it's a lot of confusion. On top of it's the EDC going on too. So the police was late responded to it. So when they get there, they late. Like he done already checked out. I'm literally watching him like he's checking out. So it's like I'm like looking at it. So I go crazy, and they pull up. I go to snapping on the police. Like they doing CPR. He's so skinny, it looked like they doing nothing but breaking him. So I'm like, man, so I'm snapping on them. So everybody like, man, you gonna go to jail? Back him up. So they backed me up. They took me away from the scene. So as far as what you said, I didn't really get into like, oh, I gotta do this now. Like I gotta avenge. I just took it as, okay, we finna better this situation so this don't happen again. Or better yet, this don't happen to me.
So that night, or that in that time frame, I won't say that night, but in that time frame, you made a decision to say, this can't be me, this can't be my future. And so what was that conversation like? Because I know that you had several, go ahead.
I just want to jump in at that standpoint, because I also want to give kudos to Ray during that time. So that just happened, right? So everyone's going to the hospital. Complete chaos. Everywhere, right? You got groups of people, you got kids crying, you got police were there. No one could get inside the hospital. When stuff like that happens, the hospital shut off. And so there's multiple people there, and Ray and others, right? Other community leaders, other community organizations are going around and de-escalating situations, right? And talking to people and trying to calm the situation down. So even though the program just got started, the response by the community violence intervention team to de-escalate the situation to prevent further violence, really, you could see the potential in that time of crisis at that point too as well. Like, let's try to minimize it. And at that time, no one knew what was going on. Like, we knew he was shot, but we didn't know how severe it was. And unfortunately, the news broke out there for everyone. And then it was just kind of like, how do we heal from this situation when we all lost someone that we loved? The last text message I received from the young man was, I love you, thank you for everything you've done. And that's just not me. This young man, he said the same thing to Ray and other people that were involved in his life. And it was a tear-jerking moment for everyone. And kind of like, this is real life. Like, we are dealing with people's lives on the line that we love.
So how did go ahead? And I just wanted to say, so as he's going through all this, keep in mind, I'm there too. So I'm to my at the scene. I saw his body on the ground as well.
And we actually rode together.
Yeah. So we actually rode to the game together. So the crazy part is, but this when I knew that it worked. That's when I knew that CVI worked, because as he's out there going crazy, he probably don't even remember this. It was me and my team that was calming him down, or he probably would have been in jail, which is sad because he's reacting to the raw emotion of losing his best friend in front of him. But then I understand that OPD has a job to do. That's why community programs are so important, because all it looks like to OPD, so let's just explain the optics. A young black man killed a young black man. I have 20 or 30 young black men out here screaming, going crazy. I don't know who's who. I don't know if you with the people that did the killing. I don't know if you screaming because you sad that the person's dead on the ground. It's just a lot of young black men that are bigger than me. They look aggressive. All these things. So that's how my brain is reacting to the situation. So me and my team, I heard them up really quick. I'm like, we don't have time to be emotional. Let's make sure these young men don't go to jail because they grieving over their friend. Also, in this same moment, like he's saying, he may not have been one of the ones that wanted to respond, but let's be honest, there was a group of boys that wanted to go do something about their friend on the ground.
Still are.
So we did a really great job of getting them, because what we found out about violence is this. If you are able to buy time, a lot of the times the violence goes away. These guys aren't mercenaries, right? They're not mercenaries, they're not gun for hire, they don't have the resources. So if you are able to take the anger from the initial situation away, a lot of times it's die down. So what we call that is opportunity cost. If I can get you here, by definition, you can't be there. So what we did was, we took a group of them, I sent some of my team, they took them out to eat. They stayed there all night just telling their stories. We were at the Waffle House till like 6 in the morning, just telling stories about Buck, what he meant to you, what he meant to you, how did this happen, and just bought time. And not only that, what we also did was people that were imminent, like him, the days to follow, life management action plan right now. What is it that you want to do? Because there's only two things that's gonna happen. Even though he's saying that wasn't what I wanted to do, but if we don't sit down and make a plan with him and help him carry these things out, that loads in your heart, right? If I can't better from this situation, then I can only go get payback for my friend. So whatever it is that he wanted to do within reason, right? We made that happen. So like he said, so that he wouldn't be, so that Buck story wouldn't be his story. Or for whatever reason, I remember the first thing he told me was, I gotta do this for the both of us. Buck wanted something better. I gotta make sure that when he looking down on me, he could be smiling. Whatever his motivation is, we just made that be a reality.
So to that, because I got two final questions. What was the bounce back moment? I know you just mentioned about how you said, this can't be me. And y'all started working on the life map and everything like that. What were some of those conversations that you had with Ray and Abe to get you on a track to where you are? Because I do want to get to that point to where you share what you're currently doing.
So this goes back to trust, right? Mind you, I don't know nothing about this program, as he said, right? They just meeting with me. I don't know why. I'm still grieving, and I'm like, I got a lot of process. I got a lot of things to process. I'm still grieving. They asking me what you want to do. So of course, I'm throwing the first thing out them culinary school. So they trying to find a culinary program. We going around looking for a culinary program. He found it. Well, I changed my mind. They introduced the pre-apprenticeship program for construction. I got into that. But at that time, me and Buck, my best friend, was going through that class. So we were taking that class at that time. So I'm like, okay. He liked the class. So we like, okay, we're going to do this together. We made it to where we like, okay, we're going to stick together no matter what. We're going to stick together no matter what, and we both going to get up out of this, right? So they took it and was like, okay, piece of paper. Write down everything you want to do. Gave them everything I wanted to do. They were nothing but the support system. They gave me nothing but resources when I'm talking. At the time, mind you, I'm grieving. Therapy. They introduced therapy. I ended up losing my home. Introduced me to a new home. You know what I'm saying? Then when it was time, got me a new job. You know what I'm saying? So it was things like that. Then on top of me being on probation, I ended up going to jail early on the next year for whatever reason. They got me out of jail.
You know what I'm saying? It was just the small things that mattered, that I can trust them. So it just went a long way to, okay, well, I'm going to tell y'all everything I need, everything I want to do, everything that needs to happen. And if this don't happen, their thought is, well, he's just going to go back to his competitive nature. He's just going to go back to living the way he was living. Right. To make this work, we got to do what we got to do. So, I mean, that's...
And all of this happened within the last 2 years, pretty much. Go ahead.
Well, can you talk about what it was like going over your life map?
So I ended up finally getting situated as far as like comfortable. I had just recently got out of jail, and they introduced me to a job. I got a job. Well, I had 2 jobs at the time, both apart. So it was like, oh, we need to talk and go over your life now. So I'm like, okay. Mind you, I'm doing good. I'm getting paid well. And they're like, well, so far this is what you accomplished. They're telling me, oh, you got a house, got a job. Like when I drove his car to get my license, bro. It's the scariest thing ever. He don't let nobody drive his car. So drove his car to get my license. After that, we sat down and we was like basically going over everything, You ain't been back to jail. You know what I'm saying? You do good for yourself. And I couldn't do nothing but shed a tear, man. It was.
So y'all sat in his office that day, and he showed you the life map, and you had no choice but to sit there and cry for a second, just to recognize. Now, you said something that you said Abe said to you, and Abe, I want you to elaborate on this a little bit. You mentioned how you said Abe said this is all the work that you did. Why didn't you feel the need to take credit for work that you implemented certain systems and put certain things in place? Why didn't you feel like you needed to take credit for work that he was doing?
It wasn't my work. I just gave the resources to get that work done. So, like, it goes back to the comment I said earlier during the panel discussion. It's like, why don't they pull themselves up to the bootstraps? If you don't have boots, you can't pull yourself up. And there's multiple situations that keep knocking off the boots or destroy the boots, and we gotta come back and repair them and tie them and fix them. So it's not my accomplishment. It's just providing access for these individuals to be supported and successful. So let's celebrate their success. They're the ones doing the work. They're the ones that put it in over and over. They're the ones that deal with the trauma and the drama and everything that goes on in their lives. Like, I'm just gonna keep it real with y'all. Like, me and Travis has built a very strong relationship. The stuff that this man has had to go through, nobody in the United States of America or in the world should have to go through half of the stuff that this man has gone through. And he still fights here today? What do I gotta complain about?
Right.
Just give this man the resources to be successful. Be that support system. Be that crying shoulder. Give that man a $100 gift card so we can put some food in the refrigerator. It's simple things that go a long way for these individuals, and I think so often we label them young as thugs, criminals, whatever, and we write them off.
Right.
And we miss their full potential. And I refuse to sit here with the young people coming into my office every single day, asking for hope, asking for love, asking for support, and not provide it. It is unjust, and we're just driving into a constant system that we're going to see over and over again, and then raise our hands up in the air and say, well, why is gun violence so high? We know why gun violence is high. The question is, when are we going to do something about it?
So it was something said earlier in the panel, and I just want to say this. I'm from Paramore, born and raised, and I have a hard time grappling with the concept of, and I just want to leave y'all with this, 2 things that they have. If we can dispel this notion, they have the same 24 hours. You know, people like to say that, oh, they have the same 24 hours as I do. So I'm gonna hop on that one, and then the second one is the parents. Follow where I'm going with this. My mom had me at, not so different than him, my mom had me at 16. Right there alone, that's a baby raising a baby. Just right there alone. That's a baby raising a baby. All right? Now, I almost felt bad for my mom when I became an educated young man and I learned all these things. And you could get caught up in a generational cycle. Her mom had her. at a very young age. And not only her, my mom got 5 siblings. So my grandmother's first kid was at 14. So all my mom knows, well, I made it 2 years past you. Now imagine if I repeated that cycle and said, oh, had a kid at 18 and was like, well, mom, I made it too big. But it's still babies raising babies. So none of us know anything. So what happens in those situations, I was telling Abe, I said, man, the first time I had been outside of Panama, which is a 2-mile radius. So my senior year in high school, they finally took us to, or maybe junior, they finally took us to UCF. So then I started to dream, oh, it's a beautiful campus, all these people, everybody look different. I went to an all-black house, I went to Jones. And so at UCF, it's all these ethnic groups, beautiful young ladies, strong, just everybody looking like, just like you can do what you want. People got cut off shirts, some people got suits. So it's just doing so much to my brain. I'm like, man, I think I want to get out in the sport world. But that never happens if I don't leave Panama. If I'm stuck in this 2-mile radius, I want to have an honest moment with y'all. Y'all know who my hero was before that? The guy on the corner. Not because, like when you really break it down, not because that's who I wanted to be. That's all I saw. He was the provider in the community. He the coolest guy in the community. He dressed tacky. He poisoned in the community. He's selling drugs. But I'm stuck in this 2-mile radius. This is the coolest thing that I see. How is that my fault? So when you really break it down, how is that my fault? I don't have the resources to get out of here. I'm stuck in this 2-mile radius, and this is the coolest guy that I see in this 2-mile radius. If something didn't happen, when I got to 11th grade, which is pretty much too late, if something didn't happen, you best believe I'm probably going to be like him. Because that's all I know. I had never seen a doctor. I had never seen a lawyer. I didn't know what that looked like. So I'm saying that to say, when you talking about providing the resources, we're doing that, but we also, bro, it's okay to dream. We got to take you somewhere. We got to provide all this, and we got to wrap around the family. Because what we realize is, he's telling us, his mom had him at 14. What is that telling us? She didn't know either. Right. So how are we going to blame her? It's a generational thing. It's a community thing. So so when we go and we provide these things, we provide it from the outlook of we gotta provide all these resources and all these services because you shouldn't have to go through what you had to go through, but also allow you to dream.
Yes. I think one thing, just to put it in perspective of the individuals we're working with, right? These are statistics that we got from our first year of implementation. We're on year 2 now. The first year of implementation, the average age was 22 years old. Fewer than 17% of participants had any other supportive services before getting into community violence intervention. 80% of program participants had a loved one that got killed to gun violence. 68% of program participants were previously incarcerated. A staggering 56% of program participants were previously shot.
Shot themselves. Wow. And we talk about average age 22.
What was that?
Average ACE.
Over 4. It's traumatic. It was traumatic. But this is the caveat to that. 85% of them are open to change if given opportunity.
Yes, sure.
So, go ahead. I want to sit in that for a second, right? Because we talk about access and access and access. And so you say 85% of those individuals are willing to change. You're part of the 85%, right? Now there's something that happened about a month and a half ago that you were able to go to the courts and be able to work through something. Tell the people about it.
So yeah, I can say that's far as one of the best days of my life. So mind you, I was on probation since 2022 of December. No, was it?
I think it was 21.
No, that was 22.
Oh.
I got arrested in 21 and got put on probation at the end of it.
Okay.
So I was on probation for, my term was 2 years. And I did a year and what, 6-7 months of probation, and I was trying to better my situation. Basically, I kept telling them. They asked me again, like, I don't know what it is that I really want to do. Like, I'm still young, man. I still got a lot of time to be like, all right, I don't want to do this no more. I'm finna change it again. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm still young. I experienced a lot. And being with these two and Bobby, I still see a lot of things where it's eye-opener. It's like, wow, that is cool, but I don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? I tell him all the time, I don't want your job. Like, I don't want to sit behind. I don't want your job, and I don't want your job either. But with that being said, I got help between him, and then another dude that's not here. We wrote a letter to the judge, basically, to get me in court so I can get my probation terminated because I wanted to go to the military. Still do. And it was nerve-wracking. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know what to expect because I violated my probation twice. So I didn't know if they were gonna deny me or what. So when I was there, I was kind of shaking and had the butterflies. But I went up there and I lost track of words or what I was supposed to say. I didn't say everything I was supposed to say, so I'm like, oh, I messed up. But the judge was lenient enough, and he was like, well, I don't see no reason why we should keep you on probation if, you know what I'm saying, you're trying to better your situation. And I couldn't do nothing but think, like, that was nothing but God, and he granted me my termination.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So,
Full-time job. He's working full-time now.
That's what I was just about to ask.
Stable roof over his head. He's on the right track, but anything can slip up at any time, right? Like, not maybe to go as far, but there's bumps. So we're just there. And he's going to be out of CVI soon because he's on point. But me and Ray will always be there to make sure when those lows come, there's more highs than lows, right? It's something like this, and in the streets they call it crash out. He's not crashing out. And we refuse to let this young man crash out when he's made so much progress in his life. And this is just one story of many stories that we're seeing with young people. And we need people like you in the audience to share this message of the impact it's making in the community, how we can get legislation to back it up, how we can get more funding coming down from the federal and state government to support initiatives, community-based organizations who are doing this work. And we have to be honest of how much it costs to run this program. $33,000 per participant. That sounds like a lot of money, right? Well, let's look at gun violence. $839,000 per shooting. Injury shooting, $896,000 per homicide. The cost, it's not even close. And that's not talking about the loved ones that we're losing due to gun violence every single year.
So I was going to ask this final question, and you kind of wrapped it up. So I'll say, is there any other words that you all want to leave as it relates to impactful work to what we're doing? And then we want to...
I was just going to say that, excuse me, I was just going to say that hopefully today, hopefully after today, you just realize that most of these people need what all of our kids need, and that's just a village. Just needs a village and a little bit of support. I don't know if you heard when Ms. Shantae was talking about the young man that was 8 years old, that whole story. He's a participant in CVI. He's another one. Working hard. He got shot like 3 times.
Yeah, was it 3 or 2?
Got shot like 3 times, but he's working a full-time job, helping the community. And I only just want to say this part: we all got kids, right? And at this big old age, I bet they still can call y'all. He working. He called me the other day. I mismanaged. I need help with my rent. I helped him. And the reason, and what's important, and I wanted to share that little small story, is because of this. Even when we put them on the bike, they still may fall off. Don't your son get to call you? Don't your daughter get to call you when they have a little mishap? They don't have that. So we are that. We are the support. So if I pick up that phone and say, oh, nah, you doing good now, you out of CVI, I can't help you. He goes back to his own ways. He gonna get it how he know. So that's all. I just want to keep reiterating, that's all they need. They just need a village, they just need the resources, and most of the program participants happily put the gun down.
Go ahead. Any final words?
No, I just want to say thank you all for coming and listening to me.
Give us hope. Give us hope.
Thank you.
Any questions? We'll take a few questions before we close up.
It's more of a comment. As a mom, in spite of everything around you, you have so many assets. And I think it's sometimes misunderstood that in underserved communities, there's still assets, there's still wisdom, there's still intelligence, there's still creativity, there's still hope. And I see all of that in you. I want to first say, I am so grieved by the losses that you still walk with. And how wise you are, even in your younger years, that you wanted to do something different when the world around you said that you didn't need to, or implied, or maybe that's the message you caught. And then to want to take care and want to stay in the community to take care of kids coming up under you, that is a sense of emotional intelligence that nobody can teach you. And that is really significant, because there are adults right now, you could probably think of at least one or two, who have zero emotional intelligence. And they're going to be in roles that none of us will run for or be appointed to. And I am so in awe of what you are walking with and what you have to offer our world. Our world is going to be so much better with you firing on all cylinders. So thanks.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Here you go.
First of all, thank you so much for coming. I just can't thank you enough for sharing your story. And Abe, you can help me with this. I think I want everybody to know that today we have seen both community violence intervention and community violence prevention. And y'all are the community violence intervention, whereas Shantae and Ruben are the prevention.
Right.
And both areas are so important. But we only have CVI in the city.
Right.
We still need it in the county. The other thing is we really need to push the funding at the state level. 2022 we asked for $5 million. The governor vetoed it. Last year they gave us a whopping $2.5 million for the entire state.
Wow.
How much does it cost for just the city of Orlando?
$1.5 million.
Yeah, so for the entire state, we need a whole lot more money, and look how much money we would save. So that is something, and you can tell us other things, Abe, that we can do to really push funding, because your story is what we need to hear.
So there's 4 evidence-based models of community violence intervention. Is something we ran. The first one is called Advanced Peace. That's the model that Ray talked about earlier. The second one is Cure Violence. There's another one called Ceasefire and Hospital-Based Intervention. Those are the only 4 evidence-based models across the country that have been determined to reduce gun violence consistently. We went with Advanced Peace because we thought it was targeted with its approach. It has another big difference is to the standpoint of we don't work directly with law enforcement. We have the same goal in mind of keeping our community safe. Law enforcement does their job, and we're not going to impede it, right? They have a job to do. If someone commits a violent crime, they should be picked up for the violent crime that they committed. However, if I can stop an individual from committing the violent crime in the first place, why wouldn't I do that as well? And so it takes a very targeted approach. And the second big change with Advanced Peace is it doesn't believe in one-sided mediation. So if I'm working in one neighborhood that I know has a problem in another neighborhood, you have to work in both neighborhoods. And that is so critical to the work that you can't have one-sided mediation. And if someone were to drop $500,000 on my plate and say, can you get the same results? I would say, absolutely not. It's not enough to do it right. And I know what you're going to do when you give me that $500,000. You're going to give me $500,000. We're not going to get the results that you're looking for, and you're going to say the program doesn't work, when it was never funded correctly in the first place. So to push legislation at the federal and state level to continue to have funds coming down, we received money from the Office of Gun Violence Prevention and the DOJ. The city did, we applied for it. We're hoping that the state will provide some money moving forward as well. The city's going to continue to fund this program. So just to continue continue to advocate. And there's another big one that I also want to say.
I know you can't ask, but there's something I want to put out there.
The one thing I want to add to that is also with one-sided mediation, right? The city can only work with individuals that live in the city of Orlando. It's city funds. So we know gun violence has no boundaries, right? That there's conflict that happen outside of city limits that enter into the city limits, and vice versa. There's instances where things that happen in the city affect the county. It takes two sides of mediation to really see the results across the board. Right?
Oh, and I was just gonna say, if you have anybody, I don't work for the city. I'm serving at the pleasure of FRRC. If you have anybody that you could put me in front of, I would love to talk about the program. There's a big part of the program, because we do use city funds, that we cannot do, which we call transformational travel, which is the piece that I was speaking about, where you take young people out of their environment, you let them go see another part of the world, and the thought process behind it is you stay for a week or longer, and the thought process behind it is when you come back, they feel weird doing the things that they were doing. So because most of our operational money comes from the city, we're not allowed to do that on that dime. So I have been trying to get in front of philanthropists and people of that sort to help us bring that part of the program to life.
I did have one question. You mentioned your mentor when you were applying there, and you found it would be helpful, but then you started getting in trouble in 9th grade. Was there a reason why? Did you turn to him for some help, or did you not have the street cred that you thought he could help you with the problems you started to have?
So it wasn't necessarily about that. Like I said, we still talked on a day-to-day basis, but as me being me, like, I kind of hid my problems from a lot of people. Like, that comes a long way with trust. So it's like, I only feel like I can tell you so much without you being scared. Like, you know what I'm saying? You never know how someone will feel about you.
Even though I've known him for a long time, I might tell him something that be like, oh wow. Like, you know what I'm saying? So
Is that because he was white and maybe you felt like he wouldn't understand? Or?
yeah, most definitely.
I know you talked about life maps, but one of the things that I know you didn't really talk about is all the other supportive services and how those play into this whole process. Could you elaborate just a little bit? I don't want to take up too much time on what other things are provided and how they support the whole individual.
Yeah, so it's an ecosystem. So basically what it is, the city has multiple different contracts with different providers. So Ray's team does the street outreach, which is probably one of the most important pieces because they're the glue to connect participants to other resources. But the other contracts we have out there, we have one with, Operation New Hope to do job readiness skills and resume building and find them jobs and opportunities. We have another one with No Limit Health and Education to provide the mental health therapy. My biggest thing, and it's none of their faults, but with nonprofits, you try to do so much, so therefore your services are watered down. What I told them, Ray and Bobby will probably laugh when I say, is just do what you do very well. If you provide mental health therapy in the community, do that really well because it's definitely needed. If you provide job readiness and resume building for participants in the program, just do that very well. If you provide street outreach and you can get the individuals we're looking for who are most at risk to services that we're connecting with, do that very well. But it's not fair to ask one organization to do all that because that's not what they're good at. And so we just combined a ecosystems of support all wrapped around just those individuals in the program because we know we needed all those resources at the table to connect them to. So it's not just Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. There's other organizations that are in that ecosystem that are only for those 56 participants who are in the program.
Are there any other questions, comments? All right. So Zatravius, thank you for your transparency. Abe and Ray, thank you for your support for Zatravius. Right? Yep. Keep helping him as well. And we thank you all for listening in on this conversation. Hopefully we can galvanize and continue to galvanize our community to keep pushing forward with this work because we believe that it's important, but not just important, it's needed because it saves so many different levels, so much money as well. So let's just keep this momentum up, please.
So you said you got 56 or 7 in the program? 56. Would you identify 320?
Statistics would show that 320 individuals.
You identified 300?
So I'll say this, not literally, but every neighborhood, so it's like this. When first year we were only in 4 neighborhoods, which means we only had identified 32, right? Of 300.
Right.
So each time we get a little bit more money to move into another neighborhood, we identify the most at risk in that community, right? Because any community you go in, when you talk to everybody, they'll point to a small subset. This the person, he the one running around with the gun, it's their little group right there. So when we in that community, we focus on that group. So that's to match the statistic with real life. Each neighborhood we move in, we are able to identify, which brings us to that 300.
In how many neighborhoods?
Currently, so that's a great question. We're currently serving 8 communities.
I can't remember, you know, Polis Institute?
Yes,
I
I
think
do Polis Institute.
Yeah, I think Polis has identified somewhere between 800 and 1,200 communities in Orange County.
Right. And keep in mind, we only, because of the funding, we only in the city of Orlando.
Right.
Right. Because we have, what he said, we don't believe in one-sided mediation, so sometimes that's our problem, right? Violence has no boundaries. So one of our communities could be going through it with Texas Ave, Pine Hills. Unfortunately, we don't serve it, so it becomes a weird situation to figure out because we don't offer any services over there. We don't have any mentors over there. But you
Well,
know,
and the way the city and the county boundaries
Right.
are, he would then don't think.
it gets difficult. It gets
If you
difficult.
go across the street,
It gets
you're in the county, and you go 1 block over, you're
Back in the city.
and there's these little islands. all
Right, you're absolutely right. So we try to do the best we can around it. Because even when you're talking about Rosemont, Signal Hill, right? You go this way on Signal Hill, you're in the county, you go this way on Signal Hill, it's the city.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,